The southern hemisphere will experience a rare kind of total solar eclipse, but you'll have to travel to a remote location to experience totality. To what lengths would you go to experience totality? On the 20th of April 2023, the moon will completely block the sun, causing a rare sort of solar eclipse as seen from a narrow path through the southern hemisphere. Beginning in the Indian Ocean at sunrise and ending at sunset in the Pacific, most of the path of this hybrid total solar eclipse, which has become known as the Ningaloo eclipse, is at sea, visiting only brief strips of land in Western Australia, Timor Leste, and West Papua. After the last two total solar eclipses in 2020 and 2021 were affected by COVID travel restrictions, the eclipse chasing community could have done with a slightly more accessible event this time around. That's not to be, though it's estimated that at least 20,000 people will travel to experience no more than 76 seconds of totality. Coming just over 500 days since a total solar eclipse in Antarctica, this short eclipse will be visible from a very narrow and hard-to-reach path across the globe. However, this is set to be a very rare kind of solar eclipse that occurs only 7 times in the 21st century. For this eclipse, the matchup between the apparent size of the moon and sun is so similar during totality that eclipse chasers will likely see an extended display of Bailey's beads as a broken ring around the moon just before and after totality. Some of you may remember the spectacular image that won the 2016 Astronomy Photographer of the Year competition. That alone is enough to get some eclipse chasers excited, but should also be possible to observe an unbroken ring of the sun's red chromosphere just as totality begins and ends. 2023's total solar eclipse is technically referred to as a hybrid solar eclipse. There are 2 types of central solar eclipse, total and annular. During a total solar eclipse, the moon entirely blocks the sun for a few minutes and allows observers to see the solar corona with their naked eyes. During an annular solar eclipse, the moon is slightly too far away from Earth in its elliptical orbit, and so doesn't quite block all of the moon, resulting in a ring around the moon that can only be safely observed using solar eclipse safety glasses. What happens during a hybrid eclipse is a bit of both. The curvature of the Earth means that the apparent size of the moon changes slightly, depending on where you watch the eclipse from. If you are close to the sunrise point, then the moon will appear slightly smaller in the sky compared to if you watch the eclipse from the middle of the path, where you will be slightly closer to the moon, simply because Earth is a sphere. The range is so narrow that hybrid solar eclipses will only occur 4 more times this century, in 2031, 2049, 2050, and 2067. On April 20, 2023, the celestial mechanics are so precise that for a few seconds, an annular solar eclipse will occur near the start and end of the path. Practically speaking, this won't make much difference at all to eclipse chasers because of the points where angularity will occur in extremely remote areas of the Indian and Pacific Oceans. There are 5 main locations for observing totality, which will last for around a minute for those watching near the centerline of the path. The most popular place will be Exmouth Peninsula, 60 seconds from 11:29 a.m. local time, a remote part of Western Australia that the path of totality briefly passes over. It's about 1,270 kilometers north of Perth and 1,400 kilometers south of Broome, but it's here that has the best weather prospects. Around 20,000 people are expected to descend on the tiny town, population of 3,000, mostly in makeshift campsites now being set up by the local authorities. A few thousand more eclipse chasers will be in cruise ships off the coast, coming from Perth, Broome, or Bali. The even more intrepid will travel to Timor Leste, a country of 1.3 million between Indonesia and Australia and ringed by coral reefs teeming with marine life. Finally comes West Papua, an even more remote island of 1.1 million where intrepid cruises will search for whales and birds of paradise with totality near Gorong Island, 71 seconds from 1:40 p.m. local time. Although the brief totality phase is perfectly safe to watch with the naked eye, that's why total solar eclipses are so popular. Totality is always bookended by a partial solar eclipse on either side, which must be viewed only through solar filters or eclipse glasses. If you're not going to be in the path of totality this time around, then you can watch online. TimeAndDate.com have confirmed they will be hosting a live stream of the 20th of April 2023 hybrid solar eclipse on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more content like this. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. We would also love to hear your thoughts and feedback, so please leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Thank you again for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.